If you want to nail your end of year performance review, you're going to want to watch this video because I'm going to be sharing some of my best tips on how you can get a great performance rating and your end of year performance review. Hey there, it's Will Vaughan from Your Career Mastery. Welcome or welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button because there's more videos coming out each and every week to make you a more successful professional. I've been very fortunate in my career to have a number of years where I had very great performance review ratings from my line managers. And I was also very fortunate to have great relationships with my line managers throughout those years. And I don't think it's any coincidence that having a great relationship and a great way of working with your line manager is going to feed through to setting up you getting a great performance review at your end of year. So my first tip for getting a great performance review rating is all about aligning on priorities with your manager throughout the year. One of the big things to watch out for with your line manager and just in your general way of working is drifting sort of too far apart from being aligned on what the key things are that you should be working on. So your line manager should have a good line of sight on what's happening in the broader business in terms of the financials, in terms of big projects that are happening, because they should be working with other leadership stakeholders in the business, which means that that should be fed through to you, which should in turn help you prioritize all the key tasks and projects that you should be working on to make sure that everyone in the business is driving in the same direction, which is why it's really important to check in with your line manager and make sure that you're still working on the right tasks. Make sure you're still working on the things that are key priorities, making sure nothing's changed that might change in turn the things that you're working on a day-to-day basis. Because what can happen is if you set up your priorities at the start of the year that set up your KPIs, things change in the nature of business and in the nature of projects and priorities and things like that. So it's really important to make sure that you're checking in with your line manager to make sure that as the business course corrects to hit its goals throughout the year, that you course correct as well, and you're not left behind working on projects that are no longer a priority. So if you want to get a great performance rating, you want to make sure that your goals and your objectives that you hit at the end of the year are actually aligned to the proper business outcomes, because at the end of the day, your performance is going to be tied to the impact that you had on the broader business performance. So you want to make sure that you're doing everything you can to align your activity with things that are going to actually drive an outcome that's meaningful in the business and get you closer to getting a bonus or promotion, all that good stuff that we're all trying to get. And tip number 2, plain and simple, right? If you want to get a great performance rating, you need to nail your key projects. So you need to make sure you're checking in with your line manager to make sure that you're actually working on the right things, and that if you are working on the right things, great. You need to smash them out of the park. So no one's going to get a great performance rating if your projects absolutely fail, for reasons that are because of your fault, right? So you need to make sure that you nail your key projects once you know what they are, once you know you've set them up and put a team together, put a plan together. You want to make sure that your projects are successful. And there's a ton of tips that I talk about on this channel to make sure that you do nail your key projects. And a quick tip on that is to make sure you're working with the smartest people in the business, because if you are working with the smartest people, that collective IP and sort of intellectual capital will feed through to your project and give it a greater chance of being successful. So it goes without saying, if you want to get a great performance review rating at the end of the year, you need to nail your key projects. So make sure you know what the key things are. What are the big things that you need to be working on this year? The big rocks, as they call them in the corporate world, to use some corporate jargon. Find out what those big rocks are and smash them out of the park, and make sure that the big rocks that you're working on are still the most important big rocks that you should be working on. Tip number 3 is all about collaborating with them on all of your key projects. So like I mentioned at the start of the video, I've had a few great years where I got really good performance ratings from my line manager, and I don't think it was any coincidence that I worked with them throughout the year on all my key projects. So they were invested in all the key things I was working on, and essentially the end result was part of their contribution as well. Now, your line manager is the one who's going to be essentially adjudicating the score you get at the end of the year. So it's super important, and it makes sense that you would collaborate with them on your key projects. You want them to feel invested in all the key projects you're working on. And essentially, because they're going to be grading your scorecard at the end of the year, it makes sense that you would bring them into the result with you. Because in many cases, their KPIs will be in some way tied to your KPIs. So the big rocks that you're working on, they're invested in having that be successful because that will reflect on them and their KPIs as well. But you want to have a great relationship with your line manager because you want to be on good terms, but you also want them to, like I said, collaborate with you throughout the year, and having them work with you, having their feedback heard and allow you to implement it throughout the year will put you in good stead in terms of putting you in a favorable light in terms of how they see you and how they position your skills and your value in the broader business, because they can see that you're someone who is driven to get a result, which means they like to collaborate with people. And it might sort of even buffer up their ego just a little bit. And let's be honest, every little bit helps. So for all your key projects you're working on, make sure you collaborate with them throughout the year. And my last tip for getting a great performance review rating is all about understanding your manager's expectations. So it's super important, again, at the start of the year, but also in all of those quarterly check-ins that you'll have against your key projects throughout the year to make sure that you're still on track. You want to understand what they expect from you in terms of your delivery of your work, how you might showcase your projects, your presentations, how you keep them informed of all the work that's on your plate, how you work with them if there's any blockers or any escalations that you need to communicate, how you manage your one-to-one meetings with them and how organized and prepared you are for those meetings to get the most value from their time as possible. All of these little nuances around project management, ways of working, communication. You want to understand from your manager what they expect from you. Because again, if you can get a better line of sight on understanding what they expect, this can set you in better stead to landing that promotion and getting a great performance review rating at the end of the year. All of the tips that I've shared in this video, one of the key things to think about is it's all about checking in with them all throughout the year. So firstly, at the start of the year, understanding what they expect and what the key projects are, but then not just letting that drift all the way throughout the end of the year and checking in 12 months later to see what performance review rating you've got. You want to check in throughout the year to be able to course correct to make sure that nothing has changed, nothing has gone adrift, nothing has been missed, because it's actually staggering how much can change in a business within 12 months, especially in the crazy economic times that we live in now with inflation and wars, supply chain issues, high interest rates. Things are changing all the time. That's just the nature of business. So it's super, super important that you align the activity that you're working on with the key changes that might happen throughout a year to put yourself in the best position possible to get that promotion, to get a bonus, to get a pay rise, all that great stuff. So I'm Will Vaughan from Your Career Mastery. Hope you found this video helpful and have got value from it. If you did, hit that subscribe button. If you've got any questions, please leave them in the comments below and I'll get back to you. Like I said before, there's more videos coming out each and every week to make you a more successful professional, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.